taxes, levies, and margins already on the liter of petrol or diesel that you buy. And that is what citizens are looking at. The reason why it's already raised these concerns that we have seen as to the attendant hardship or the increasing cost of living that this levy will bring.
Welcome to the Political Rant with me, the voice right here on Ghana 7TVGH. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, turn on the notifications. Right, anytime videos of this nature are uploaded, you'll be notified.
Taxes, levies, and margins already on the liter of petrol or diesel that you buy. And that is what citizens are looking at. The reason why it's already raised these concerns that we have seen as to the attendant hardship or the increasing cost of living that this levy will bring. This is it. Here's what we do know, which is the list of taxes, levies, and margins already on a liter of petrol or diesel that you buy. Energy debt recovery levy, road fund levy, energy fund levy, price stabilization recovery levy, sanitation and pollution levy, energy sector recovery levy you see there. Also, the special petroleum taxes. This is a tax that the likes of Kwame Jantua and others have been advocating that this should have been off our books a very long time ago. In fact, a number of the taxes I've just run through and the levies had some sunset clause. It should have been off our books, but it's still there. ESLA, for instance, the one that I mentioned earlier, this first one was supposed to be 5 years, but it's been almost 10 years. ESLA is still on our books. It's been amended now and increased. We have an additional 1 CD on it. As to why that's the case, it's a question that we'll be finding out from the Energy Ministry. We have represented here on the table. Well, the primary distribution margin, bust margin, fuel market margin, marketers margin, dealers, that's a retailers and operators margin. All of these are already on a liter of petrol or diesel that you buy. Now, the fundamental question is, with all these taxes and levies and margins, which constitute almost about 30%, 35% of the liter, the cost of the liter of petrol or diesel that you buy, then we have this additional 1 CD. This is the consequence of this 1 CD that is going to be applied. Now, the old rate of this particular levy was 95 pesos. It's going to be increased by additional 1 CD. The new rate you see there is what's going to be applicable if the Ghana Revenue Authority begins to apply this levy, and then the OMCs will be charged with the responsibility of collecting this. So if all things being equal, obviously it's going to impact on the price of petrol and diesel at the pumps. But the only one that is exempted as far as we see is LPG. But then again, the finance minister says that in the immediate term, this would not be felt. The OMCs think otherwise. As to what the finance minister means, we'll get into that as well, because the man who supervised the entire process of approval in Parliament under a certificate of emergency is here with us. He's a ranking, in fact, on the majority side. And these are the various components that influence the...
Why? Because the focus is not to have a sunset clause. The focus is to deal with the challenges in the energy sector. Like you rightly mentioned, in 2015, when ESLA was passed, there was a sunset clause of 5 years. You had a new administration. In 2016, if you look at the books of ESLA, you had the administration at the time applying the funds for its intended purpose. From 2017 all the way to 2024, portions of ESLA were diverted into other funds. In fact, in 2017, thereabouts, even a part of that money was used to settle pensions. So we, the ministry does not think that the focus should be on a specific date, that 5 years, 2 years, but the focus should be on dealing with all the challenges in the energy sector. And that is what the ministry is doing now. If you look at the urgency of passing the bill, every year we spend an average of $1.2 billion on liquid fuels. If you look at our energy mix now, it's largely thermal. Thermal yes. Constitutes about 70%.
Indeed, but before we get into all that detail, you're saying the reason why there's no sunset clause or when this is supposed to be off our books is because we want to focus on the task at hand, clear the debt. But we have seen in instances where there's a sunset clause, even that sunset clause is violated and thrown out. Is this not prone to abuse? That you don't put a sunset clause to as to when this levy is supposed to last and when it's supposed to be off our books. You leave it open. How are we sure that the next administration, because John Mahama has 4 years,
Yes.
how are we sure that this is not also going to be subject to another abuse with an explanation that it is necessary to do A, B, and C?
No, Alfred, I'll go back to the commitments of the president and the sector minister. In 2015, when it was passed, because the president knew the challenges at the time, he ensured that the funds were channeled into what they were meant for. That is the track record of the president and then the energy minister at the time. What is going to happen will be the same commitment. And this time, the president has gone a step further to say that the people of Ghana should be updated consistently on the use of the funds. The funds should be audited from time to time to be able to do it, to ensure that the funds are used for the purpose. It shouldn't be a situation where the funds come in and then it's diverted. And the president has also said that the fund will not be a victim of what happens with the consolidated fund, where any money that goes in, the finance ministry decides to use it for what it wants. But this time it will be channeled into it to ensure that we have a robust power sector. Alfred, the energy sector is very, very challenged. This administration inherited a very difficult energy sector. In fact, let me focus on the power sector because this is what is applies. You have a power sector that is indebted to about 80 billion Ghana cedis. You have a power sector that owes the private sector, the IPPs, by over 1.75 billion United States dollars. You have a sector that, because of the energy mix, you are spending averagely $1.2 billion on liquid fuels alone. And thank God we have natural gas. If we didn't have natural gas, it would have been worse. Because we've had a trouble from 2011 to date, it has come to support the fuels that we need for thermal plants. And beyond that, you have inefficiencies that have been recorded in the sector. ECG's difficulties, you have NETCO's difficulties as well. You also have a very difficult distribution lines. For the government, for 2 years, and if you speak to the engineers at ECG, they will tell you that major maintenance works were not done.
Why?
Because of funding issues. They will not put that out.
ECG didn't have money?
I'm telling you.
ECG?
In fact, the ECG will have money, and we'll come to that point. The ECG may have collected the revenues, but what were they using the revenues for? That's another conversation altogether. For example, if you have, in 2023, you have a budget of 900 million, and you end up procuring 8.3 billion, definitely you're not using the revenues that are coming for relevant things. If you have 2024, if you have a budget of 1.2, and then you end up spending over 8 billion, you run into the challenges that you have. So for 2 years alone, you had a budget of 2 billion, and you end up spending over 16 billion. These are some of the challenges that the Minister for Energy has decided to address. That address all the challenges heads on, deal with the fuel issues that you have, try and get more gas from ENI, from Talu, from Nigeria, put together a new gas infrastructure fund, the gas infrastructure, that is the gas processing plant 2, which at the end of the day will reduce your cost. Address all the bottlenecks that you have, for example, procurement challenges. And then once you get to that point, you'll be able to review this levy. And that is that's why there was no sunset clause. So for me, these are...
I see. But you know, let me bring in Lamant Bebo on this, because unless does that explanation suffice for you, Mr. Jaltua, very quickly, why there's no sunset clause? Quick one, and then I'll bring in Lamant Bebo.
I believe, yes, there are debts, but it depends on how the money is going to be used once everything is paid off. I tend to understand the bit of buying fuel. If we haven't been able to get more oil fields working and get gas out, then it means we will still have to buy fuel as feedstock. And you know, it takes quite some time from exploration to production. However, having said that, the responsibility is to make sure that the CD stays strong. Because the moment the CD drops, that one CD is also going to drop.
Indeed.
How do we cushion it? So we should be able to have some mechanics in place. In case the CD drops, it can be cushioned. We know where to go to. You know, next year, the two funds that we have for the oil one, the is it stabilization? And then the one that is we put abroad. What is it called? Is it heritage?
Heritage
Fund
yes.
is due in 2026. The 15 years is due in 2026. We are supposed to use only the interest from the Heritage Fund. I think it's time government tells us what we're going to use that money for.
Okay.
And not wait for it to come. We don't hear anything about it, and then it's pushed into something else. We can start planning for that money. I think there's over what, $1 billion in there, or is it a billion? Yeah, $1 billion in there. We should be able to plan how we're going to use that money, whether it's going to go into infrastructure, whether it's going to pay debt, but hopefully it's not going to be used for consumption. I think that particular bit we should start that discussion, so that at least we know if it's going to cushion some of the things we are doing. Let's see how it's going to cushion it, because definitely we would need to cushion this particular one city, because some of the things we have no control over.
No, I'll bring Professor Bokwin in a bit, but you gauge the concerns and the reactions that have been coming through, at least from Tuesday to now. GPRTU being the latest that they would go on a sit down. I'm sure you read that by Tuesday, if their concerns are not taken into consideration, and this levy taking off the one city. But then again, you hear Richmond Roxon talk about ECG not having money, and so they didn't go on a conduct maintenance for 2 years.
Yes.
Citizens are looking at the inefficiencies in ECG's own administration, the corruption, and then also the losses that they keep posting on a yearly basis, and it's increasing. And not much being done to address that. Not many people, in fact, there's nobody who's been punished so far for the corruption that is said to be within ECG. And then now citizens also being called to bearing share in paying for the loss of ECG and others as a result of some of these practices that have gone unpunished so far. Do the citizens have concerns that could be considered in here?
Oh, absolutely. Citizens have concerns, right? Yes, they do. And it would be very strange if citizens didn't raise concerns, right? But basically, if you put everything together, this is a tax that we must support. Yes, we must support. I'll break down the reasons. And of course, before I go to breaking down the reasons, we haven't welcomed you back from South Africa, the G20 summit preparation that you attended, right?
Indeed.
Journalists preparing. It's good. It's good. When they come, when you go back for the actual summit, we hope that you ask the developed countries why they can't help us more. Because I think that this one, they are on our necks. They should give us better terms of trade, better loans, far less interest, etc. Because they owe us a lot.